Hi everyone, it's Matt from The Pen Habit. I'm glad to be back for another video, and today we're going to be looking at another Chinese pen. This pen is from a company called Kaigalu, or its logo is a kangaroo, and for some reason I just can't hardly say this name without saying it in an Australian accent. So Kaigalu. Um, and I apologize in advance to all my Australian friends there for my really bad accent, which sounds more like New Zealand than it does like Australia. All right, Kaigalu, little kangaroo logo. This is the box it came in. Pull the sleeve off, and it actually comes in a pretty nice presentation style box here. You can see that. It's faux leather, nice big size box, and you open it up, and the interior comes with you've got the Kaigalu logo there. Nice, comes with a little pen sleeve, booklet. Not sure what that is all about, and that actually didn't come with this pen. And then this is the pen that actually came nestled into this box. So this is the Kaigalu 316. And it's a very interesting pen. This is a celluloid pen. So for those who aren't familiar, celluloid is one of the plastics that pens were made out of for a long time. You don't find a lot of modern pens made out of celluloid anymore. It can be fairly flammable. So you probably wouldn't want to use this near open flames. But for the most part, it's beautiful material. It's kind of a white celluloid with black swirls in it, and it's fairly transparent. So let's dive in. Let me walk you through the pen and some of the specifics on this pen, and then we'll do a bit of writing sample. All right. So as you can see, it is really quite an attractive pen, I think. It's this white, semi-transparent, kind of pearlescent celluloid, very smooth with the black swirls in it. Top of the cap has the kangaroo logo on it with under a nice little kind of acrylic dome there. Cap tapered up slightly, nice gold band to the clip. The clip is very, very stiff, very solidly made clip. It looks gold plated or brass plated, I don't know. The center band got a gold, a black, and a gold band right there. And then you've got another little gold band and the end cap down here. The pen is, it's a nice standard, fairly standard shape, kind of a flat top pen, flat bottomed pen. The section is black plastic. You've got another ring here and the threads right there. And the nib looks like to be a number 6 size nib. And they actually have a fairly nice design for their nibs with the little kangaroo logo again. And unlike many Chinese manufacturers, Kaigalu actually stamps their nibs with the size. So I can tell you that this is in fact a medium. Now, one thing you'll notice if you look really closely, and I'll try to cut in a photo here, is that the gold plating on this nib, the masking is off. So the gold portion is actually outside of the embossed area. That's a sign of what can be a little bit less than stellar QC. However, I've seen that even on pens like my Visconti Homo Sapiens. The gold is just a little bit off of the place where it's supposed to be on the nib. It doesn't bother me a whole lot, but if you're one of those people who really is particular about the way your pens look, especially the nibs, that might be a little bit of a bother for you. But the thing to point out about this pen, and I've talked about this in several of my previous videos, is it is only $35. And that includes shipping from China to the United States. So it is actually quite an affordable pen and much nicer than many, many other $35 pens you could buy here in the States. It's very solid, feels very well made. The threads mesh together quite smoothly. Maybe not quite as smoothly as like an Edison pen, but they do mesh together quite smoothly. The It is a piston or a cartridge converter pen. Does come with a Kaigaloo branded converter, and should take standard international or standard international long cartridges. Um, the one thing that's just a little disappointing to me is that the collar here is made of metal. I wish it were made of the same material or a plastic so you could use this as an eyedropper. Because this has so much transparency and pearlescence, it would be really great to be able to use this as an eyedropper. But because this whole collar is made of metal, that's kind of right out. You wouldn't want to do that just in case of corrosion problems with the ink. So yeah, overall, in terms of the way the pen looks and the way it feels and is built, I like it a lot. It's a little heavier than I normally prefer. Walk through the specs here. It is 128 millimeters uncapped, 136 when capped, and it can be posted. And it posts not terribly securely, but it can kind of be posted. And that is 176 millimeters, and it's pretty back heavy when posted. So I wouldn't recommend posting this pen. But fortunately, at 128 millimeters, it fits just fine in my hand without too much difficulty. And that nice number 6 size nib means that I can hold it on the section. I don't have to hold it back up on the barrel like that. So I can hold it like this and still get the nib to the paper pretty easily. The pen is 32 grams in weight without the cap and 48 grams with the cap. So it is a little heavier of a pen, but it's not unbearable, especially if you use it unposted, which is what I would recommend on this pen. Section is just over 10 millimeters in the middle of the section, which is the perfect grip for me. The barrel, 12.7 millimeters, and the cap is 15 millimeters. So it's a decent sized pen. If I put this next to some of the pens I've done earlier, for instance, this is the Surwex 1362, you can see it. Oh, you actually can't see it. Let's do that. You can see it's smaller, it's narrower. So this is a pretty hefty pen. It feels very, very solidly built, and I like that a lot. What I don't really like on this pen is the nib, and I'll walk through that here on the writing sample. So let me dive in and show you kind of why I don't like the nib. All right, this is the Kaigaloo 316. We have a steel nib in medium, and it appears to be a standard number 6 size nib. The ink for today is Sailor Gentle Grenade. Okay. And let's do our quote. Let's do our quote correctly. See if I can remember how to actually write. This is a longer quote than I normally do. That is supposed to be hairs, not hands. And always young in the heart. That is by Honoré de Balzac. And I apologize for just massacring the writing on that quote. Okay, so the nib. Let me scroll up here just a bit. This nib has a few problems. First of all, it's a little on the dry side. Uh, it has loosened up a bit as I have started writing more, but when it came out, it was very dry. You'll notice up here, we got skipping as I tried to draw a horizontal line. We got a hard start right there. We had a hard start on the K. So in general, this pen has some nib issues that need to be resolved. Now, I haven't touched this nib yet, and I'm going to. I'm going to increase the wetness and smooth it out. Now, the nib is actually fairly smooth. It's a little more feedbacky than I like, which just means that the actual writing surface was not as finely polished as I like. I'm not getting that butter smooth thing, but I'm wondering if perhaps I would be getting that more buttery smooth feeling if I had more ink actually flowing out of the nib. It's too dry right now, so with a little bit of additional ink and some lubrication, that by itself might fix the problem of that feedback that I'm not liking. If it doesn't, a couple passes with the micro mesh should be fairly simple to take care of it. The other nice thing is it is a standard number 6 size nib, so if I need to replace the nib, I can. All I have to do is pop it out and I can put a replacement in. It does have a slightly stubular quality to it, so there's just a slight bit of wider on the downstrokes than on the cross strokes. It's not significant, but it is a little bit there. And again, that may have to do with the problems that we've got on the cross strokes. With the ink flow, that might be taken care of once I get that resolved a little bit. In terms of line variation, there's a little, not too much. I mean, it's a pretty rigid nib, as are many of the nibs on these less expensive pens. Reverse writing. This is a touch scratchier and a lot drier. And if you don't have I tend to rotate my pen to the side here. That's just a writing habit I'm trying to overcome. It doesn't work very well if you do that. So you have to write dead on in order for it to work. So yeah, it's unfortunate that the nib is too dry and isn't quite smooth enough, because were that not the problem, out of the box, this pen would have been beautiful. The construction on this is probably higher quality than any other inexpensive Chinese pen that I've purchased before. Of course, this is 3 times more expensive than many of the other Chinese pens I've purchased at $34-35. I also think it is one of the most interesting and unique designs I've seen. A lot of the other designs of the Chinese pens are pretty derivative and kind of boring, frankly. This feels a little unique, and it's a beautiful material. I really do like this celluloid, and I like that I can even see the cartridge or the converter through the celluloid, that little band of gold there. So all in all, I actually like this pen a lot. I like it a lot more than I was expecting to. And once I have a chance to sit down with some micro mesh and some brass shims and get this nib working, I could see this pen becoming a regular pen in my rotation. Unlike some of the other inexpensive pens, which don't write that well or don't really fit my hand, this one fits my hand quite well. So if you have any questions about this or want to share your own experiences, please do so in the comments below. As I have said in earlier videos about these inexpensive pens, one thing to note is quality control can be inconsistent. So I know a lot of people have gotten Kaigelu pens and they've worked wonderfully. A lot of people have gotten them and they've been next to worthless. So when you buy inexpensive pens, these $10 pens, just be aware that what you get may not be what someone else has gotten. And you may need to be doing a little bit of extra work. So it sounds like my dog is puking in the other room, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video and find out what's going on. That's a great way to end it. Thank you for watching. We will see you here next time on The Pen Habit. Bye. Hey everyone, so as I mentioned several times in the video, I thought that the Kaigaloo had a standard number 6 size nib. It does not, and I learned that the hard way when I tried to swap it out. So I don't know if you can see this here with the lighting in my audiobook studio, but the larger nib, the one on my left, is the standard number size nib. It's a Goulet nib. The one on the right is the one that came with the Kaigaloo. You can also see, if I hopefully see on the video here, that the Kaigaloo actually has a little notch in the bottom of the nib, whereas the standard number 6 does not. So I tried swapping out the nibs to put a Goulet nib in, didn't fit, so don't try that. I will tell you, though, that I did clean out the nib, or not clean out, but I did smooth the nib and open up the tines a little bit, and now it writes quite nicely. So a lot of those problems I was complaining about earlier went away with just a little bit of work on the nib. So please don't try to swap out your nib with a number 6. It won't work. And thank you again for watching, and have a good one.